Hello again. Anybody living in or near the capital knows perfectly well that almost all the violent crime, and most of the unusual ones as well, are committed by black people, foreigners, or Muslims of Middle Eastern or South Asian heritage. It is felt, though, that this fact should not be spoken of out loud, and that talking too much about the deplorable state of London when it comes to murder and rape is verging upon racism. It is said by some that I deliberately seek out crimes committed by certain groups, while deliberately, actively turning a blind eye to those carried out by white British people. This is a reasonable idea if wholly false. Perhaps one way to check if it is really what I'm doing is to look at what the police in London themselves are reporting about the crimes with which they deal. In the description to this video, I give a link to the Metropolitan Police website. In it, they report news of the serious crimes with which they have dealt. That is to say, arrests, charging, convictions, all sorts of things. Click on the link and you will find the reports for North London which go up to June the 22nd, 3 days ago. Let me go through these crimes, every single one of them, so there'll be no question of cherry picking, and see what we make of them. Bear in mind as we do so that over a third of the people living in London are white British, and so we might reasonably expect a third of serious crimes to be committed by that group. The first report is from June the 22nd, and it concerns a serving police officer who exposed himself in a park in Hampstead. He was Detective Constable Dariusz Alexander. His Christian name is spelled Dariusz. I would imagine that he is a foreigner from Eastern Europe. The next item, also on the 22nd, is about the man who went berserk with a pickaxe at a London hospital the other day. There's no news there of his ethnicity, simply the fact that he's been arrested, so we must label this case unknown. Next is an arrest in the case of a black man called Linton Wilson, who was stabbed to death in Walthamstow. The following piece is headed, Determined Detective Work Snares Predatory Rapist Who Targeted 11-year-old Girl. The man concerned is called Abbas al-Said. Then, on June 17th, we see Prolific Rapist Jailed Following Met Investigation. The man's name, Raghu Singamanini. Then on June the 16th, we see this. Man convicted of manslaughter of woman 49 years ago. This is a case from 1974 of a man called John Applegren who killed a prostitute that year. He's a foreigner, a South African. Next up is headed two men involved in a £3 million drug conspiracy jailed. The men are Ben Pershke and David Toal. I'm guessing Eastern Europe. Also on June 15th, we have man charged in Wembley murder investigation. A woman called Tejaswini Kontham has been murdered, and a man by the name of Kevin Antonio Lorenzo de Moret has been charged with the murder. On the same day as this, incredibly committed Met detectives secure conviction of serial rapist. The name of the criminal, Clement Omaregbe. There follow appeals for witnesses to various matters, most of which seem to involve Tottenham and other diverse areas. Then we see former police officer jailed for sexually assaulting colleague. The officer's name is Archit Sharma. I will give the case after that, which was published on this site on June the 8th, and then I think we can think over what we have seen. The heading reads, Man convicted of violent attack which killed a man in Haringey, and the convicted man is called Bricken Cooney. Cooney is Quni. What are we to make of all this? I can hardly be accused of being selective in these cases, for I have read out all the ones on the Metropolitan Police's own website, which any viewer can check for his or herself. These crimes go back as far as 1974, and every single criminal named is either black, foreign, or of Middle Eastern or South Asian heritage. There is not a single white British person among these cases. This is not my imagination, and nor is it a case of my concealing or ignoring cases which involve white British people. They simply are not there. 40 years ago, London was a good deal more peaceful and quiet than is now the case. Stabbings were very rare. Today, almost every violent and bizarre crime committed in our capital city is a product of the groups whom I have mentioned, and practically none are the work of white British people. This is why Guess the Ethnicity is a fairly simple and straightforward game to play, of course. I will now make a rash prediction, and one which might lay me open to ridicule in the future. The other day, a man went mad at a London hospital and attacked two other men with a pickaxe. He then somehow managed to injure himself with the pickaxe. This is such a bizarre and violent crime that it is worth pondering for a moment. In all my life, I have never heard of anybody attempting murder with a pickaxe, let alone suicide, either in this country or any other. I know no more of the case than anybody else, and yet I would be prepared to state with some assurance that when the man is charged, he will not turn out to be named Peter Jones or David Smith. It is my belief that he will turn out to be either foreign, black, or somebody whose ancestry lies either in the Middle East or South Asia.